This is Jim Nailon, liturgical guitarist. I'm going to share my arrangement of the Advent hymn, Ready the Way. It's written by Curtis Stephan. I'll play through it first and then I'll go back over it and talk through it. Okay, so I made an arrangement. Well, I put up a video of this earlier, a tutorial, but that was before I had worked out an agreement with Oregon Catholic Press to where I could actually share their arrangements. So this arrangement will cost you $3 because I have to pay a royalty to them for using their music. But so I wrote it out. It might be a little different than the other videos, so that's why I'm making a new tutorial. And I can talk you through the sheet music here. So from the top, notice that opening measure is 2.5 beats. And that's going to come into play when you get to the repeat at the end of the verse. You have 1.5 beats in that last measure of the third line on page 2. So it was easy to write it that way. It might be a little odd looking at it, but it makes sense, and it makes sense musically. So anyway, so and 2 and 3 and or 2. So you go and 3 and 4 and 1. Yeah. So and the F over A. Now that's an F over. You don't have to bar that one because you have A bass. And C over E. Oh, here. Now, I put this in to make it easy to get the bar because I play it with my thumb around. But if you notice the fingering on that in the last measure of the first line there, I guess it'd be the third measure, and the last half of that, you got the C over E, and then I have this, instead of using your first finger to play this note here, the C, I drop down to my second finger. And the reason I go to that second finger there is so I can get my bar ready on the very last note of that measure. I slide the bar in to get that, and then I'm on then I have to lift the bar off to get that hammer on. Now it's a lot easier if you can do it with your thumb around. It's but if you can't, and a lot of people can't do that, or I mean, classical. When I was a classical purist years ago, you weren't allowed to use your thumb, and that was a no-no. And so I never, I didn't do that for a while. But it's easy for me, so I like that's how I do it. So then switch to the second finger there, and then moving on. And again, that last, at the end of measure, or line 2, at the end of line 2, another F over A, so you don't have to bar it. And here you have a little 16th note. I think he does that the first time through too, but I only did it once here. E over B, we're in line 3. So on the A minor, and just rock your first finger over. And then I take that first finger over and I to get the F. You don't have to lift you don't have to lift that C off. So starting at the third line there. And then just a little riff here for fill. And if you do more than one verse, now I wrote this with the repeat here. You go back, and I wrote it with just one verse, but you can go back and repeat it as many times as you want. You might want to put a little different fill in there. They're going to say, "Oh, I heard that," so something like that. C and then an F. And then you're into that F over A. Whatever you end up, you got to have a little finger down here. And the C over E, so. And then here. You can do that with the bar because you excuse me, got your little finger down on the D, the third fret of the second string at the very end of that first page, and then you just lay your bar down, lift off and jump. So whichever way you play that, you've got to make a fast shift up to the first finger on the 8th fret. You play the F, and then you have an 8th note of time on that when you hit that open A bass to bring your hand up here. And you play first and third, and then first and second on the 7th. And to slide that, to get that slide down, you got to put a lot of pressure on the strings to keep the sound energy going when you slide. Otherwise, it'll be you won't get much. And then to hit that G, it's just a lot easier since you already have your first finger here. Just bring that down, and it's an anticipation there because it's the last 8th note in the first measure of that second page. You have a first finger, you have the G and the B, and then 8th note, and then you have time to bring your second finger over, kind of maybe bring your elbow in a little bit and bring that wrist up, and you can get that second finger over real easy on the low G bass. So, and then at that point, switch to your third finger on the G bass, and you have the 3 open first strings, or open strings, top strings, and a hammer on. Now we're on the second line of the second page, the C bass. Here's another tricky part. Slide up 1 fret into that diminished chord, the G sharp diminished, want to at least keep the first finger down as you slide it. That's all you can really do. Well, you can keep both these first and second fingers down, but you don't have to. And again, when you're sliding, keep a lot of pressure on those notes. Otherwise, you lose a lot of the sound quality. And then you lift off the first finger, slide up 2 frets with those 2 notes, and into the A minor. And again, you need to get good tone through those notes. You got to have a lot of pressure. You got to push hard down. If you see my my finger, I don't know if you can see the lines in the fingers there, but you know, my fingers are a little sore. I've been practicing these to get these ready for these videos. Make it through there, you're home free. And then, so we're in the second measure of the second line. After on that A minor, and you got to go from the playing this E, the in the bar here, it'd be your second string in this bar, and you got to make another fast shift, but it's an easy shift because all you have to do is get your first finger down on the first fret of the second string. Because you have an open bass note. And if you do like I do, if you roll the chord instead of playing it all solid, that gives you maybe a 64th note worth of time to make that shift, because you hit this note on the beat and these are just a little late. Anyway, that's a little trick there. Third line. So again, same trick as I did before on this shifting here from the end of the second line into the F chord on the start of the third line. Same trick I did up in page 1 at the end of the first line there with the back to the same notes, that part. So your little fourth finger there, and then on this C, instead of playing this C here or the first fret of the second string with your first finger, use your second finger and then shift it into the bar. And here you have to also do another little trick on this F chord. And I wrote you a note there in the in the sheet music. We're at the first measure of line 3, the F. You want to keep that bass ringing, but you want to get the open E. So the way to do that is to rock up, lift the back of the finger up while keeping the tip down. So and the way to do that is kind of you bend the wrist. See my wrist moving there in the close-up, and if you do that, you can still keep the pressure down here on the fingertip. Then you go back and do the the refrain again, and when you get if you want to do another verse, then just go into the verse again. But whenever you're ready to end, take the second ending. When you at the end of the on page 1, the end of the third line, is when you would go to the second ending. So we'll just do the refrain. Second line. Third line. Now go to the ending right there. Now you have a repeat just on the ending. You can do whatever you want in that last chord. But I use that so many times that I put something else in here. So you can play with that. Anyway, that's I think all I have on this one. I believe that when it's sung, it's capoed up a little bit. I don't have the sheet music right in front of me to tell you what fret you'd capo on, but if you're accompanying or singing this with a congregation and wanted to go off into an instrumental part. But anyway, that's all I have on that. Look for more arrangements on liturgicalguitarist.com. I pray God blesses your playing, and I wish you peace.